Hey guys, it's DIY Nails by Wood, and I'm going to show you how I did this color blocking mani, as well as show some new liquids I got to try out this time. The colors I'm going to be using are I Am All In, a color changer, and BFF, this multicolored glitter. They are both from the Gilmore Gills collection from Rocky Mountain Dip Powder. Here is their new liquids available now. It's the base coat, activator, top coat, and they also have a no wipe gel top coat, which I do like to alternate and use. Now first off, I'm going to start with the base, and I want to show you how easy it is to open, and I hadn't used it in over a week. She did mention that the brand new bottles, they might have the brush on the lip and it's not stuck, it's just sealed. So just forewarning for those of you who ordered or are going to be ordering. It also has that no wipe insert, which is great. It prevents liquid from pulling up and it getting too thick. Now up close you can see how the bristles are all really even, which is great because if you have some bristles that are longer than others, you could get base where you didn't really want it. And then the brush itself is pretty stiff, which is good because you have a little bit more control over where you're putting that liquid. And in the video how I'm doing the glitter, the chunky glitter, laying the pieces, I do have other videos all about that if you want to check those out. And it has this much coverage after just one dip. I also use my little pick to press it on the sides because I feel like it just makes it more shapely and clean, and it's less cleanup I have to do later. And with a glitter that has this much coverage, I want more, but I don't necessarily want to do an entire dip, and I don't want to place a ton of pieces. So I sprinkle with my brush that I would use to ombre, because I've noticed whenever I'm sprinkling an ombre or the pour over method, it comes out thinner as opposed to dipping. So I feel sprinkling some glitter, I get more without the bulk, and that's worked for me really well. And then of course pressing down those pieces. Oh, and the liquid I noticed too is slow drying, which is great for what I'm attempting to do with color blocking. You need time to apply the liquid and be careful of the tape and be careful of the pieces, and it allowed me to do that, which was great. And then when you're doing certain designs, like some people want it to dry faster or some people want it to go slower, and it really depends on what you're doing, so you have to know those liquids. So starting out, I'm going to be using the Scotch shipping packing tape because it's very adhesive, which is good. So it will stick without having to press it down hard. I'm going to start by cutting a curved shape. My color blocking mani, I didn't just want the corners blocked, I wanted a slight curvature organic shape to make it just a little bit more flattering on my finger shape for me, personal preference. So once I get that shape cut, I rip off the excess, but do not throw it away. Save it. We are going to be using that. Each piece you rip off, save it somewhere. Once it's on, I press in on the corners to create a seal because you don't want that liquid to be seeping up through the tape. I mean, if it does a little bit and you see a little liquid go under the tape, it's okay. It's not ruined. When I go to dip for color blocking, I like to lay because you're laying it flat, and it's the color is only going to go where you apply the liquid, as opposed to if you were dipping, you could push that color under the tape, so lay it. And also when I go to apply this liquid on top of the tape, I don't go too far on top of the tape. I don't want to cover the tape. I don't want to get too much product on top of the tape, so when you go to peel it off, if you have so much on top of there, you might risk pulling off the color that's sitting on your natural nail, which we want to avoid, of course. When I go to do the glitter portion of this color blocking mani, I will treat the glitter just like I did on my accent nail, and I'm going to press, I'm going to push, and then I'm going to sprinkle or place some chunky pieces and then peel off the tape, which you'll see. And I'm just going to show you how I complete this middle finger for the color blocking, but I will start fast forwarding or get to other nails so you're not just seeing such a repetitive process. Sorry. I'm trying to help my kids while I'm recording this, so if you hear a few little weird noises, that's why. And I did try to place some chunky pieces. I think it was in a previous video, my up mani, when I really showed how I went through and placed things and worked with chunky glitter. Here I'm pulling it back, and you see I'm pulling it back close to my finger. I'm not pulling up, I'm pulling more horizontally like you would if you were waxing. If you pull up, you don't want to pull up on the dip, pull flat and back. And then while it's still wet, I use my pick and I actually push back on the dip itself. I push back on the glitter. I want to push everything back in line because sometimes things can get a little askew when you're pulling it off. So while it's wet, it's still very manipulatable, if that's a word. And that's how I do keep my lines clean. And I really want to push it on the sides where it ends on the side of my nail because I don't want humps when I go to file later. And as you can see, the line's pretty clean. Now, when I go to do my other nails, the tape will no longer stick. So I just use it as, I guess, a template, and I will cut a new piece. And then, of course, I said, save all the pieces. And then using the fresh piece, I will go to the next nail, and so on. And I will do this on all the nails, just so it's a fresh piece of tape, it's a good seal on every nail, and then press those corners, etc. So I'll repeat the process on my fingernail, on my pointer, but I won't show you because you already seen it, and I want to get to the next part. But I'm going to be pushing it back. So I use this, it's a pumice stone for your nails, and I use it to push back, but not to manipulate the glitter like I did with my pick, but to try and get some of the little glitter pieces that fell onto the rest of my nail that weren't coming off. So I use this to kind of get those off, and it keeps those lines even more clean. And I don't use my glass cuticle pusher because I don't want that to get ruined, whereas those are disposable. Next, I'm going to use I Am All In It, which is a pink to lilac violet purple color changer. It's amazing. And here we go. We're going to be using that tape I told you to save, and it's almost like a little puzzle. So the piece that we used to color block the tip, we're going to use the rest of that tape to now cover that tip. So we want to protect the tip that we color blocked. We don't want it to get contaminated with other colors, and we don't want the lines to get messed up. We want it straight. So now this is going to fit perfectly over what we color blocked. And don't be worried, you want to let it dry. I didn't activate it or anything, but you want to let it dry so when you press the tape on, it doesn't start peeling off. And when I press the tape on, I don't press it down really hard, like very, very lightly, and then I press down on the sides. It's literally just to kind of cover it, protect it. You can see the tape still moves, but I'm not pressing down hard. Then when I go to apply the liquid, I apply it as I normally would by the cuticle, starting a ways from the cuticle and fanning it out. And then I try to avoid going on the tape if I can. So I kind of use the tape as a guideline to curve my brush and then go along the line. If you get some on the tape, it's okay because it's covering the other color. And then I lay flat. Again, laying flat as opposed to dipping, you're not going to be pushing, excuse me, you're not going to be pushing that dip under the tape. And then clean the cuticle. So I'm dipping as I would normally and leaving that tape on there until it's done. And you can see that like there's barely any dip on the tape, which is great because you don't want that tape to, want to stay in your mani. And then cleaning those cuticles. I have noticed with these liquids, I didn't have to clean around my cuticles as much because I had so much control over where it all went, which was really nice. Now the second pass, I'm going to do the same, and I'm just trying to make sure that everything is covered. You don't want like pieces missing. It's hard when you're having to maneuver around the tape, but just be mindful of the tape. And it's like, this is something that like anyone can do. It's just tape. It's just getting around that tape, basically. Which actually would probably be a little easier if I cut the amount of tape away so I didn't have so much sitting on my nail. So looking back, I would probably do that just to make it a little bit easier to maneuver. When I peel off, I again peel low, peel more horizontal. I did lose that chunky piece of glitter, but that's okay because it was just sitting on top. Everything else was fine, but the chunky piece was sitting on top. It wasn't super incorporated into it. And you can see I already have pretty crisp lines. The cuticle lines are good, the sides are good. What you will notice though is the part where both colors meet, because I just did the solid wants to overlap the glitter. So what I do is I use my pick while it's still wet and the dip is still able to be manipulated. I push it back on itself, creating a hump, and it's okay. I push it back so nothing is covering the glitter, and then I go in with the cuticle nippers and see where it's kind of up. I clip it. Only the portion that was pushed up in there, it's a perfect, straight, clean line. And I like doing this because you make sure that not only are the lines really crisp and nice, but you make sure that like nothing's covering each other. And it's very flush and it's very smooth. And I haven't brushed off anything as well yet because I want to make sure that it's dry all the way. And now I'm brushing off. Normally I would use my hard manicure brush and like really get in there because you don't want any contamination or to look a little funny, but oh, here you can see there's no hump. And then when I go in there, when I encapsulate and clear and I go to file, I'll really focus on that transition area to smooth it too. So we've got a good foundation for these color blocking nails so far. And this is what they all look like. Here I'm using my manicure brush. I really want to get any little excess powder off. And then I'm going to encapsulate and clear. Again, using the liquids, and it's great because I get really close to the cuticle, but then you can just kind of see that liquid go there, like without even pushing the brush all the way up, which was really cool for me. It was really easy for me to get it where I wanted it. And also when I go to encapsulate and clear, you'll notice I like to, I guess, cap the tip with the base. So when I get the clear on my nail, I get clear on the tip as well. So when I go to file, the color is still on my tip, and then my tip is still sealed with the dip, not just the top coat in the end. And I feel that that's really helped me with lifting, and as well as, you know, when you can see your natural nail underneath, I kind of like to have that camouflaged. That's just me. Next is the activator. And I believe I believe Rocky Mountain does have more sets than individuals. And I believe the price is $30. They're working great. I'm sorry, I don't know how much else I can just I love them. Ooh, and you can see this deep, just blue violet color. When I go to use my buffer block, I go in a nice curved motion because your nail bed is naturally curved, right? So I go in a nice curved motion, and I'm really focusing on that transition area because even though there's not really much of a hump, you don't know. So I'll keep going, I'll keep feeling, I'll keep checking just to make sure it's smooth. And there's no humps, none. And that's a solid and a glitter. And I mean, this is what I do with the chunky glitters too. I'll go and file and feel and make sure that everything's filled and smooth. And then I'm going to go in with my Bona-Fide Beauty glass file. Now this is my bread and butter when it comes to smoothing and shaping my edges, as well as when I go around the cuticle, I go in a curved motion and I angle the file a tiny bit to really get into the cuticle area and get it nice and smooth. So it's not such a rough transition to your cuticle. You know, you want it nice and clean. And I do, like I said, I have other videos showing a little bit more detail how I do this, but so this is kind of like a quick, this is how I do all my nails. I also go slightly underneath to make sure that anything that got stuck underneath is gone as well, because that can disrupt the visual shape of your nail, having any little extra bits. And then when I go to do the tip, well, I poke my middle finger first, but then I go in a nice straight motion. I don't move my finger, I move the file, and that's how I get a pretty straight line. And also when I'm going around the cuticle, I try and just do short quick motions, because it's already so thin. The liquids were pretty thin, like putting on this much dip and it was still really thin. I didn't want to file too much and have like a translucent line there. I'm going to go ahead and do the second round of activator, and I'm going to do it on all my nails except my ring finger. Oh, backtracking here, I do it on my ring finger, excuse me. And I plan to do a different top coat on the ring finger for you guys. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to do the activator. I did. Once the activator dries for about 15 to 30 seconds, I wipe off with a paper towel and I rub really hard just to make sure I get any of that excess off. And I know it says you're supposed to use a lint-free cloth. I did not have any on hand, but I do check to make sure there's no little pieces left behind before doing my top coats, just because they could really show once it dries. I'm going to be using the Rocky Mountain Dip Systems top coat and the no wipe gel on my accent finger, just so you guys can kind of see them side by side. The top coat I love too. It's very low odor, as well as the brush is stiff and the bristles are all pretty even, which again is great because you want it to go where you want it. Now the first pass is quick, of course, and I'm skipping that accent now. You'll really see the top coat start to soak in and react to the activator and the dip. And that's okay, because the second pass, what I really loved with this top coat, it has a gel-like consistency with how it looks. I mean, the liquids are thin, but the way that it looks resembles the look of gel. I cap the tip, and then I go in and do the rest. I push the cuticles back so that I can get that top coat a tiny, tiny bit past the dip, so it creates a nice seal all around. So sealed by the cuticle, the sides, and the tip. And I found that really helps prevent lifting. And here you can see the pointer next to the middle finger, where the middle finger, the first pass, has soaked in, and now the pointer is staying shiny. It looks very much like gel. Now here is the Rocky Mountain No Wipe Gel, which means like you don't have to wipe it after it's cured. This is my first time seeing it. I had not opened the bottle prior to this video. I kind of wanted it to be like a little bit first impression. And you can see, like, I kind of stopped. It's like, whoa, what is this? It's so thin, which is great. Most gel top coats and gel polishes are so thick and like chunky. This just, it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, smells like a duck. It's gel, but it's so thin that you could see it literally drip off the brush. I cap the tip, and then I go ahead and go to the cuticle. And again, you can see that the brush is stiff and the bristles are even, which is great control and great placement. And again, I want to seal by the cuticle, and then I, of course, capped the tip first, so you don't get any little humps once you're finished. And then once that was done, I cured, I want to say, for about 120 seconds. And here, you can see the color change right away, the purple lavender color, the pink, the blue violet, and look at the accent nail next to my other nails with the regular top coat. They're all just as shiny. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful, and I would love to see your color block minis. And thank you all for watching.